What's up guys, Houndish here, and today it's time to jump back in, talk about some Destiny 2 stuff. So we've got some news, roundups, leaks, and more. We're going to talk about the new exotic quest in Destiny 2, some known issues, bugs, and future updates coming for the game, a bunch of new leaks about Destiny 3 and future content, Bungie break down some information about Masterwork armor, Forsaken feedback, and we've got a bunch of other stuff to talk about as always guys. So if you do enjoy this video, a rating below is super appreciated. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see more D2 content, but for now, let's jump straight into it. So from this week at Bungie, I know I'm a little bit late, but Bungie say, this week at Bungie, we sent you out on a quest. As trick-or-treaters take stock of their sweet loot in real life, our own Festival of the Lost is entering its final stage. If you have yet to earn that mask that has eluded you, or still need to get your 600 power horror story, you have until Tuesday, November the 6th. And to close out the festivities, Amanda has a final quest. Over the next 3 weeks, she will unleash you in pursuit of those who killed Master Ives, the less hated of the Cryptarchs. Each week offers up a new step in the quest, along with a powerful reward, happy hunting. So we at least get confirmation from Bungie right there, that the new Lost Cryptarch quest in the game will indeed roll out over 3 weeks. We spoke about this earlier on this week. Of course, we did have a leak that suggested we'd be seeing a 3-week quest for the weapon. And yes, as far as we know, ultimately, we will be hunting the Thunderlord returning to Destiny 2 as part of this quest. So we'll keep you guys posted on that, but further discussion about this week's content as well as the update. I spoke about the Harbinger's Echo Sparrow. To acquire this, you need to destroy all 40 corrupted eggs on the same character. Cosmo has confirmed that this is indeed a bug, and the Sparrow should be available for players that have collected all of the eggs across the entire account, so this is something that Bungie are looking to fix. There are further issues with the Ascendant Primeval Servitor in the Gambit game mode, where essentially defeating the Primeval would actually give the win to the enemy team. Unfortunately, that one is still happening, so Bungie still have some stuff to look at there. And there is an issue with 150 rate of fire scout rifles. So Cosmo said, we're looking into a report that 150 RPM scouts are not firing at their intended rate of fire, and confirms there is an issue and they are firing slower than intended. We're working on a fix that should restore 150 RPM scouts to the proper fire rate. And of course, outside of this, we did see a minor damage buff to scout rifles. But one area where there has been a lot of conversation over the past few weeks would be Xur, the exotic vendor. And there was some anticipation perhaps we would see an adjustment to Xur's inventory. We didn't get that inside of the patch notes for 2.05, so it doesn't look like anything will change with Xur. And I'd be really curious to get your thoughts down below, guys. Do you think Xur should now be selling Forsaken exotics? Do you think that the Fated Engram should at least allow Forsaken exotics? I'd love to get your thoughts on that down below. But now, let's get on to stuff about future content. So Reddit user Anon9, the famous Destiny leaker, has been at it again. Of course, earlier this week, they confirmed that Thunderlord would be a 3-week quest. Anon9 called it and got it right. And they've been speaking a little bit about early concepts and information about Destiny 3. And someone actually asked, will we be facing Savathun or Shivu Arath? And Anon said, forget about Savathun till at least the end of year 2, maybe in year 3, or never, because in D3 there is no place for Savathun. Pretty interesting statement, especially considering how much of the content is hinted towards the arrival of Savathun in the game, so potentially that's a story that will conclude inside of Destiny 2's lifecycle. Anon9 went on to say, I can 100% say to you that in D3 we're going to have multiple darkness subclasses, and Anon had spoken about using the darkness previously, but of course the concept of us having multiple darkness subclasses on the actual Guardian characters is definitely pretty interesting. Somebody spoke about a hint from Steve Cotton that we could have planets outside of our solar system at some point, and according to the plan, there will be no planets outside of our solar system in D3 vanilla. And once again, Anon said that Europa would be featured inside of Destiny 3, and that there is supposedly going to be 4 main locations inside of Destiny 3 vanilla, which is pretty typical of course. But previously they had said Guardians using the darkness, which of course would be those darkness subclasses, open world areas that feature player versus player as well as player versus enemy. And in terms of the development of Destiny 3, according to Anon9, the game has actually been in development for less than a month at this point. And we'd also heard that Chris Barrett would be the main game director. Of course, he's been the game director over the past year for Destiny 2, but Luke Smith is still present with a significant role. So some interesting new leaks and statements from Anon about Destiny 3's content. Of course, they've spoken a lot about Destiny 2 upcoming content, the annual pass, and the Black Armory expansion in particular. And I've said this before, but their track record is pretty incredible at this point. Correctly leaked a bunch of information about Forsaken subclasses and locations, The first time we ever heard of Thunderlord returning to Destiny 2, it was Anon the 9 confirming that we'd see it in Festival of the Lost. Then they leaked the thing about the 3-week quest, and honestly at this point it seems like anything that they say has a significant chance of indeed being correct and ultimately happening in the game. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. Definitely pretty different. I can't remember ever having a leaker so openly talk about so much different stuff, so I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. But back to this week at Bungie. Bungie talk about Masterwork armor. There's been a lot of conversation about what exactly Masterwork armor does, how effective it is, and especially considering how expensive it is to actually upgrade Masterworks now, Bungie give us some insights about what Masterwork armor actually does. So of course there are 3 families, Arc, Solar and Void. Each family of perks has 5 tiers, and they say each legendary armor item has a Masterwork perk, randomly assigned, allowing each player to potentially build up 25 cumulative tiers of Masterworks for a given damage type. Each tier bestows the following effects, so 1% damage resistance against any combatant attack carrying the specified damage type and not player attacks, and 1% damage resistance against any attack while the Guardian is in Super. Super damage resistance stacks regardless of family disparity. For example, if a player has tier 12 Arc and tier 3 Void, they have a cumulative additional 15 damage resistance while in Super, but only 12% damage resistance versus Arc combatant damage and 3% versus Void combatant damage. So there are actually 2 different stats going off inside of each tier of a Masterwork. Essentially every point that you add will add 1% of damage resistance against the element, and then an additional 1% damage resistance against any damage while in Super. So it's certainly pretty interesting. Of course the effects are somewhat minimal. Across an entire Guardian Masterwork, it's definitely more noticeable. It's good that Bungie have given us that bit of clarification. I don't think those stats are a bad thing whatsoever. Personally, my only additional request would be that we'd be able to re-roll armor once again in the game. So previously with Masterworks they allowed us to do that. You could actually change the stat package, so resilience or recovery for example, and I think it'd be nice to have those unlocked again, but let me know your thoughts down below. On the subject of the new quest though, Bungie warn of a bug that you may run into. They say we've observed reports from players who were unable to receive the Lost Cryptarch quest because their pursuits inventory was full at the time they accepted the quest from Amanda Holiday. Players who have not yet picked up the quest should ensure they have open slots in their pursuits inventory prior to speaking with Amanda Holiday. They do say for players who have been affected by the issue, they are pursuing a hotfix to resolve it, so hopefully we'll get that one pretty soon. The Forsaken known issues list has been expanded. That includes the Harbinger's Echo bug, Hawthorne's weekly challenge. Players who do not redeem their engram for Hawthorne's weekly clan reward until after the weekly reset will not be able to earn another engram for that week. Players will have to wait until the following weekly reset to get out of this state. Tree of Probabilities are investigating an issue with point thresholds for the strike. They're still investigating an issue with the 4th times the charm perk for the Warden's Law not activating correctly, problems with Xbox One X crashes, and of course that issue with the scout rifles. We should also bear in mind this weekend, on top of the double infamy points that we've been able to get in Gambit all week, we will be getting triple infamy. So if you're looking to level up, unlock malfeasance, anything like that alongside the other changes in Gambit, this weekend is going to be a really good time to play. In the Bungie update post, they do give some information about the Refer a Friend quest, the requirements, and where you can get all of the details about that, so if it's something you're curious about, I'll link Bungie's blog post down below. But one final thing is that Bungie are asking for general Forsaken feedback. So Cosmo said, as mentioned in the TWAB today, we're going to be making some feedback threads to help us track the community's thoughts on the current state of the game and what direction you want to see it move in. This first one is a wildcard. Tell us whatever you want. Here are a few prompts, but feel free to write whatever. We'll be back soon for more targeted discussions. And those prompts include, what have you liked most about Forsaken? What would you like to see changed in the future? And what would you like to see added? So it looks like this is going to be one of Bungie's new kind of feedback methods. Starting pretty general right there to get a sense of what are the hot topics that people are talking about, and then they're going to narrow down into more specific areas and try and get a better sense of how those things can be improved or evolve over time. If you do have any opinions about the current state of the game, definitely go and leave them in that feedback forum. There was a little bit of speculation about the Cerberus +1 exotic, and that it may have potentially been nerfed alongside the full choke nerf that we saw a few days ago. Cosmo did confirm that Cerberus does not use full choke in any way, so it hasn't changed in the update, and there aren't any known bugs with the weapon, but he will pass along feedback that ADS should affect the spread more, and essentially people have noticed that there is very minimal spread difference between ADS and hipfire with the weapon, so that's something else that the Bungie are going to look into. But guys, for today, that is going to summarize the news roundup. We are in a slightly quieter time for Destiny right now, but of course, it is November, and throughout the tail end of this month especially, I'd anticipate we're going to get a lot of information about the upcoming content. And we could get a trailer, we could get a reveal for Black Armory literally any time in the next couple of weeks. So that one will be exciting when it finally drops, but let me know your thoughts about this stuff down below, guys. If you have enjoyed this video, a rating is very much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe to see a lot more Destiny 2 content. For now though, I appreciate you tuning in as always, and I will catch you very soon.